Hey guys, good morning. Okay, day two of keto. Here we go. All right, so I'm on Sky News Australia, and I think it's really interesting what these people are saying because this gentleman, let me show you. This gentleman right here believes that Trump is going to win in a landslide. And what this gentleman is saying is that there is literally a campaign in America against Republicans. There's a campaign, you guys, against Republicans. And that's not really, it's not a fair market. It's not a fair election. It's not unbiased media. It's just when they don't get their way on the left, they come after us in these ways that are just, I mean, it's really insane. It's insane. So I think this is pretty interesting. I mean, this gentleman right here, I watch him all the time, and I really do respect this person a lot. I think he's great. Um, but this person says something very smart. If you look at other countries, now I'm also speaking to people watching me from the world stage. In other countries, what do you think about Donald Trump winning or not winning? I mean, I would like to hear from you. Because here, even if Trump is doing well in the polls, we're told he's doing badly in the polls. Okay, so you just have to know that the media is paid for by special interests. It's just like I told you about Prop 22. Prop 22 is paid for by John Zimmer and Logan Green, whoever they are, right? And the special interests that, have the ride share platforms. And I think certain delivery platforms. And what they'll tell you is they're protecting flexibility. All right. But what they don't tell you is what what they're taking away from the drivers by saying yes on 22. So you guys know my support is no on 22. The other thing I recently found is that we have a constitutional right to do stem cell research in California. That is why it's the most dangerous state to come to for plastic surgery, because that means stem cell research, if you really look at what it means, you guys, it includes genetic materials that, it's very curious how they're getting those genetic materials. All right. So let's watch this a little bit. So here it's saying that Donald Trump on track to lose by landslide, but not over here. Not like we're told this, but they're not told this.
Um, uh, James and Rita, the where do we sit now with Trump and following the debates and the vice presidential debates? James, your take.
Well, look, I mean, did that piece have a dateline 2020 or 2016 on it? Because I feel like with all of the talk that we've had about, how they hear all around the place about how badly behind Trump is, it feels like a very similar thing that's happened 4 years ago. A massive media demoralization campaign against Republicans. I'm not saying Cameron Stewart is part of that because he's not in the American media, but you do see that in the American media an awful lot. Trump down in the polls, everyone's saying he's done for, and yet there are some real wobbles coming out in the Biden campaign, not the least of which, and I think Rita's going to be talking about this in a bit, is the failure of Joe Biden to answer a simple question
Yes.
about whether or not he would, and Kamala Harris, would together try to expand the number of seats on the Supreme Court to turn it into essentially a permanent left-wing majority body. That,
Of course, of course they will. Of course they will. They've wobbled and waffled so many times on things. They'll make a statement. They made a statement about fracking, and then they went back on it, and it's like, well, look, if you're gonna stand by what you're saying, if you make a mistake, we all make mistakes. If you make a mistake, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the mistake and you're going to go back and say, okay, well, I made a mistake about fracking. Instead, what they're doing is Kamala Harris in the vice presidential debate is saying, no, he didn't, he didn't say that, but he did say that. So it's just how they're using the language, right?
Is, I think, a really big failure, and it's even starting to break through in some of the mainstream media. So we've got a long way to run.
Rita, quickly, your reaction to the debates, Rita. Just your thoughts on the debates.
Well, the debates, the most frustrating thing about this debate, the moderator, I think, did a much better job than Wallace, but every single question was framed from a leftist perspective. Every single question was a Democrat talking point. She asked Pence whether Trump would accept an election loss. She didn't ask that of Kamala Harris, even though we've had Hillary Clinton and others telling Joe Biden, do not accept defeat if you do indeed.
Now, you guys, you have to understand how they're doing. This is a hypnosis. This is a what is that called? It's a curriculum, right? It's a curriculum. They're telling us what to expect. And they're only asking questions from the left. They're not asking any questions about the values that the right has. The values that the right has. We want individual rights. We want protections against certain things that are happening in, certain clinics. I'll just say that, we want children protected. We want education. Even when I watch, there's a new, I like to say her name is Kim Classic, but it might be Klacik, but I really love Kim Klacik, or Classic. I like to call her Classic. Talking about the opportunity zones, but she's also talking about the lack of education. You guys, there's a real problem in education because they're using the way education, the body that is education, to do these horrific crimes to people and then cover it up. They're doing these huge campaigns against people through education where, No Child Left Behind Act a long time ago was so that every child would get a chance at education and every child would be educated. And her stance is children are not getting educated, in the Black communities or in the white communities. I mean, there is a huge issue in education. Real meaningful education has to do with learning the information that would put you on the world stage and put you into a job where you could make a meaningful difference to the corporation, to America, to, wherever you are. Meaningful education here in America, they're picking and choosing who gets a meaningful education. And I completely agree with Kim Classic in that sense.
Lose the election, and we've seen them not accept the result for 4 years now. They've done everything to say that it wasn't a legitimate victory. So that is, I think, one of the things that was really frustrating, that how every single question was from a leftist perspective. And when we're going to get a debate that is actually equal, that holds the Democrats accountable and isn't just a vehicle to attack the Trump administration.
See, we're not going to get that, you guys. I mean, as much as you want it, we're not going to get that. But guess what? This is not actually working in their favor, I think. When Trump came down with the coronavirus, all of these people were saying horrific things. They were protesting, saying they don't care if he gets sick and they don't care how he feels, which actually was so disgusting that I think that it made even Democrats that are, they became Democrats for the right reasons, you guys. I think anyone who became a Democrat for the right reasons. but there is this faction with, Democrats they're radicals, and they're saying horrific things about our president while he's trying to get better in Walter Reed. Now, whatever I say about this, my friend who's just avidly against Trump is like, well, he made people sign NDAs. And I said, well, that might be because he's not sick. He's not as sick as they claimed. He's not as sick as they claimed. But this is another woman, a reporter in Australia, who's pointing out the thing that I think we've all noticed watching the debates. They're using the debates as a platform to attack the Trump administration. And we can all see it. It is not a balanced debate. So we don't get our issues about education or, there's other issues, there's rights, rights that have been stripped away using, other people's rights and rights from other countries to take away American rights. There's abortion, there's stem cell laws. There's a lot of laws where they are torturing. They're using these loopholes to torture U.S. citizens, prevent them from work. And we have seen a change in the Trump administration to change certain policies and practices that have been in place, probably from once they learn the loopholes in the laws, you know what I mean? And he has changed a lot of these practices and policies, which has actually breathed hope into the American citizens, breathed hope into maybe we can get jobs back, it's breathed hope into America. Now, you guys know I'm in a very different situation because of, what happened to me where I was bought as a child, as an orphan. I guess I don't know what happened to my parents, or I was stolen as a child, something, probably in a different state. And then they just kept hiding the birth certificate and hiding it and married me off to a bunch of people on paper. That is a different situation that I'm talking about. That is my specific situation. Okay. But how they get away with it is all of these policies that many people don't even know about. So I think these people are right. I think that if you look at Sky News, you're going to have a positive outlook on this election, meaning that even if the left stoops to these tactics, the American people are like, well, why aren't you talking about, even the Democrats are talking about, why aren't you talking about what the Republican values are, what the Republicans want? You're only using it as a platform to attack the administration. And I think it's just making them not look, they're just not looking, they're looking like, instead of looking like politicians, they're looking at like, a small petulant child on a playground throwing, sand at people. I mean, they don't look regal doing it. They look very less than they're standing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, just very briefly also, Rita, just on China and the Chinese building.
Oh, this is good stuff.
Come on, take us through it.
Well, yeah, we found out that the Chinese company that's got a $2.3 billion contract to build Melbourne's new train fleet has got links to Uyghur labour camps. It has been a beneficiary of that, which I think is just appalling, but it's also blacklisted by the US government, this company, for security risks. And this is what...
Okay, so this is something specific to Australia, and I'm not saying I'm not going to cover it, but I just want to say that there's a lot of things that where these people are blacklisted and they just continue to work because human trafficking and slave camps and forced servitude is how these businesses have built themselves, right? Not all businesses are bad. But I'm saying that it's very hard to enforce because the people that are being enslaved through forced servitude or, false debt like my father did is they don't have the money to go against them, and they usually don't know what the problem is until way too late.